assuming you gave it everything.
That is something else. Congratulations. Well, I didn't hear that.
Megan, is it just the one page? Yeah. Or is that?
Rather predictable votes most of the time.
That's good. You don't.
I can't move if my brain is I guess persuasive.
Thank you. You ready?
I like to go talk to people who know more about it than I do.
There you go.
Anything help in your house? She got this together.
Good.
We're doing everything again.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely. We're going to use these. I'll probably just no way I want. Is it through?
Good evening. I'm going to call our meeting, our normal council meeting for December to order. I want to thank everybody for being here with us tonight as we work through this agenda. We just came out of a committee meeting, so it feels a little awkward and a little weird to be going back through all this again. But it's great to have you all here with us. I do apologize for starting a little late, but hopefully we can still get through the schedule or do the agenda pretty quickly. I want to ask the Vice Chairman, if he would, to please kick us off and start us by leading us again in the invocation and the pledge.
Let's pray. Most gracious and Heavenly Father, we love you so much and we're so thankful for all the many blessings that you give each of us. Lord, during this time of Advent, as we enter into the Advent season, help us to be clear on keeping the true meaning of this season, what it's all about, of Christmas, of the birth of our Savior. Lord, we ask that you keep your hand on our first responders, especially the family that had such a tragic loss this week. We ask that you watch over our leaders at the local levels, at the municipalities, at the state and federally. And for our men and women serving overseas, be with them. Dear Lord, we above all, we love you. We ask for guidance and wisdom to do your will. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This is a time in our agenda where the public is welcome to come share with us their concerns, their thoughts, their feelings over things in the county. So at this time, I will ask the madam to get on the list. I want to remind everybody that this is a 30-minute time period with 3 minutes per speaker. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman and members of council, I call Samuel Burns. Samuel Burns. Bill McKinney.
Council, here in relation to the development and the UDSO that is being discussed, I want to thank you, the council, for listening to the public. I actually appreciate how each of you do take into consideration your districts when determining how this needs to be developed, and even the spirit of debate as I have gotten to watch the council do their jobs. And it's encouraging because we're seeing government behaving in the way it should behave. So thank you, first of all. I do want to encourage you to continue to take the appropriate next steps. And as I see it, Pickens County has a wonderful opportunity to be the place to live in the upstate. I've seen development run amok in Greer and Simpsonville and other locations. Pickens County has a beautiful opportunity to be a beautiful county. We're naturally beautiful. We don't have some of the infrastructure like interstate that other counties do, where you can get masses moved quickly. So we have to remain a more rural county. And I appreciate the efforts that have been made to maintain that nature and uniqueness of Pickens County. I think when people aspire to home ownership in particular, that people are dreaming of holding a cookout in their backyard, with a little girl playing with her puppy, a father and a son throwing a ball. And that's what we should dream of for home ownership. That's exciting for people, young and old, to have that ability to do. I do think that the 5,000 square foot lots do prevent that. And as they're being built, I could lie down with my head against my house and my feet would be in my neighbor's yard on a 5,000 square foot lot. That's not an exaggeration. They build these 10 feet apart. You got 5 feet of area there. So I think the appropriate next steps for the county are to look at some lot size minimums, even in our densest area, and consider a 1/4 acre as a good minimum size for the most dense area, and maybe a 1/3 acre in that next area of level. We have a great map to work with. We have an opportunity to make everything sensible in the different shades on that map, and I just think it would be the next good step forward for our county. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Daniel Lee. Heather Cook. Heather Cook. John L. Raines.
Last month at County Council meeting, I had to leave early, and Mr. Roper, our administrator, brought up my name and my empty chair during his presentation about the 183 road tax allocation. In my opinion, his point was to use me as a brunt of a joke he thought was funny, and to insinuate I must not have been really serious about getting rid of age-inappropriate books in our library because I left early and forgot to get his form that he thinks is the solution to our grievances. To mention any citizen in a mocking way is totally unprofessional. For an administrator of the county to make light of a serious situation of a citizen who is concerned about age-inappropriate, obscene literature being available in our tax-supported library for underage children is appalling. And Ken, I didn't forget to pick up your form to challenge the book. I already had 20 of those library forms, so I didn't need yours. Citizens are trying to protect innocent children from harmful literature. After all, it is a law in South Carolina to not contribute to the delinquency of minors or distribute obscene material. Through freedom of action, I have found that not one single book that anyone has challenged by using that form has been taken out of the hands of underage children and placed in the adult section in the last 2 years. So that doesn't give us citizens much hope that filling out that form will be of any use. As we have also heard loud and clear that our librarian and some library board members think children should be free to read anything the library places on the shelves. If we don't draw the line on this issue, it's probably not going to be long before Hustler magazine and Playboy are made available to children on the shelves. Library Director Stephanie Howard, in a letter to me, stated the library seeks to maintain a well-balanced collection with up-to-date information which represents all sides of controversial issues. Well, if that's true, then why are no award-winning Christian books from the Brave series of Kirk Cameron and the Libertarian series called The Tuttle Twins, available at our library branches. Mr. Roper, I'm praying that you will never again single out a private citizen and make a joke about them for exercising their God-given right to address this council about their concerns.
Thank you, Ms. Raines.
Brian Smith.
Good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on the UDSO. I absolutely love Pickens County. It's beautiful. We want to keep it that way. The direction we're moving with the lot sizes, I agree with. I think it's great. I have a specific case that I would like to bring attention to that we should consider in terms of adding additional constraints. On Stevens Road, a development was just approved based off of the existing UDSO standard, where the lots were meeting the area requirement, but the intent was not met. And what I mean by that is the lots were 60 foot wide and 20-foot setbacks with shared driveways. And so from a practical standpoint, when you go down Stevens Road and you see these 16 houses, first, they will be completely different than the character of the entire road. If you go do the road frontage statistics, you'll see that there no other place, no other driveways are like that. I mean, you have 100-foot minimum anywhere you go. Even with the new developments, there are new developments that haven't been finalized and sold, and those properties have over 100 foot. So what I would say is that as we go forward, consider lot widths, because when you go down the road and you see that, what you will see is a high density neighborhood. I mean, they'll be right there on the front. And actually, the property goes down a hill, so all of this space, 60 by 450, are the dimensions. All of the space in the backyard that counts towards the half acre. I mean, the curb appeal is high density, is the bottom line. And so I agree with the other gentleman that we should consider ways that developers are going to work to get around, because he was able to add 16 lots where 60 foot apart. That's and I've got the plat here. I want to bring it to you so you can see what I'm talking about.
Just give it to the clerk, please.
There you go. That's one for each. That's my point. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on this matter. I think moving forward, we may want to consider additional constraints, that there may be ways to get around the intent of the lot size if they make very narrow, long lots. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Daniel McKinney.
Good evening. I'm also here to speak on the UDSO updates. And I did want to thank the council as well for listening to us over the past 6-8 months. I don't remember how long it's been. I know some of you have come to our meetings, and I've spoken with some of you personally, so I wanted to thank you for taking the time to listen to the public's input. One thing that I did want to reiterate, and I think it's what happened in the meeting just before, but with all the motions, it's kind of hard to keep track of. But I do think that we do not want the density in the county surrounding cities like Easley to be higher density allowed than in the city of Easley. And I think the map was kind of redrawn in the meeting to keep that from happening. But again, I don't think we want higher density outside of the city than is allowed inside the city. One of the things I also heard some of the council say that I think is good is being more restrictive initially to growth. and then changing later on if we need. It will be a lot easier to do it that way than to be able to do it the opposite way. So I think that's a good idea. A few things that still think that there's work to be done. It's not as immediate. I think the immediate need is to try to stop the large developments from coming in today. But so for next year, probably some of the things to continue working on are setbacks, particularly from the road. An F-150, I think, is 17 feet long. So if we have a 20-foot setback, that's enough to park one. And if there's a sidewalk there, maybe it doesn't even fit without blocking a sidewalk. And the reason why I think that's important is because when we have cars parking on the streets, it does make it difficult for school buses to get down the roads, for emergency vehicles to get down the roads. And I also think it provides a safety hazard with children playing in the area. I think it's going to be more difficult to see if somebody's running out into the road, a child that might not be paying attention to the cars, when you have limited visibility from the cars in the street. So that's one area that I think we need to continue to work on. I am a proponent of the ring around the developments. I think that's a good idea. You count it in the open space, it's part of it, so it's not increasing the open space, but I do think it will improve the visibility of the county as you drive around. And then lastly, setbacks from streams. I don't know, frankly, what's in the final version, but the last version I saw, I think it was 100 feet from major streams and 50 feet from minor streams. DHEC has some guidelines on open space communities, and their guideline is 75 feet from perennial and intermittent streams.
Thank you, sir.
So I think that should be at least. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of council, this concludes the public forum.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item on tonight's agenda is the approval of minutes. I have November 6th, November 20th, November 28th, and the November 4th. Nope, I apologize. November 28th Committee of the Whole meeting. In your packets, I asked for a motion approving the minutes for these.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. Chair, there is a grammatical error on the November 28th Committee of the Whole. Should be natural heritage, and it is national heritage.
So is that in the form of a motion to
Yes,
change that?
to change that.
I'll second that. Any discussion on that change?
Make a substitute motion to make another change?
Absolutely.
On the minutes from November 6th, it's on page 8, under the ordinances for second reading. It was the ordinance that was delaying the implementation of the reassessment. It says that after much detailed discussion between council, the motion carried 5-1 with Councilman Alex Seda and Councilman Chris Lawless opposed. So either the 5-1 is incorrect or the 2 opposing votes were incorrect. I'm not sure what it was, but the math doesn't work there. So if you could please make that
Should be 4-2.
It should be 4-2.
4-2.
So I'll second that substitute motion, as long as it includes Councilman Lawless's original motion. So, discussion on that. Hearing none, all those in favor of the amendments, please signify by raising your hand. Any other discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Mr. Roper, Administrator's report.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, thank you for this opportunity to update you on some of the things that are going on in Pickens County government in the coming days. I know that you have a full agenda and you're going from meeting to meeting, so I'll try to be brief with this, but I would like to point out, again, keeping in touch with your goals that you set for this term of council. One of the things we have done is try to build stronger bonds with our municipal partners, also build stronger bonds internally with our own workforce by investing in training, leadership training, sharpening our skills with our workforce. And in one of those regards, I want to make sure that everyone's aware, particularly public servants in our community, of the Leadership Enhancement Academy for Public Servants. Our LEAPS program is currently taking applications. This would be for any county employee, any municipal employee. I'm sure we would welcome school districts, water districts, things like that. Any folks that are public servants, this is intended to be a leadership enhancement so that we can provide better service to our constituents. We've had several classes of this. You'll notice that one circle is emphasized here. I just want to give credit where credit's due. I don't know if any of you have ever had the opportunity to have a boss in the past who would take your good ideas and use them as his or her own. I don't want to do that to Ms. Jamie Burns, our community relations manager. This is something that was her idea when I challenged staff to find ways that we could nurture our public servants. This was something she came forward with. So I'm very proud of our community relations manager and how well this program has been received. I believe this will be the third class. I might be wrong about that. But applications are open through the end of this week. Again, municipal partners are welcome to apply. We've got a leadership team there, Tommy Blankenship, Jamie Burns, Katie Corbin, Jessica Barney, Lauren Pilgrim, and Trad Julian, and they're all graduates of the program, and they help shepherd us along, and you'll see the schedule there. So very proud of that program and what it's doing to make us all better public servants. Another thing that I'd like to point out is that we have begun the process of having our annual audit. For many, many years, the county's audit was done by Cherry Becker. You'll remember when Mr. Robinson would come and report from Cherry Becker. And I'm sure that although it was always a very thorough audit, and we always really appreciated that, we got very used to each other, and we got used to dealing in shorthand in some cases where it was important and in long form when he needed to inquire. But it is important for you all to recognize Mr. Robinson is retired, and so we put this service out to bid. The successful builder was Green Finney Cawley LLP, and they have begun just this last week in getting with us and starting the audit. I just wanted to say two things really about that. One is I would like to give credit to our finance director, Ralph Dorino, because he's approached this new auditor with a very, very open mind. What he told me is we are a glass house. We need all of their input. We need for them to show us where we may have had preconceptions that need to be challenged, and for us to get a good audit at the end that we can all be proud of and know that we're looking closely at their recommendations. So since it's a new auditor, we do expect this is going to take a little longer in time, but we're very anxious to see that report. We think it'll be good for all the county government and for our citizens to see the end product of this. So look for that in the coming weeks. The other thing in terms of some good news that we had, this fire truck you see here is an E1 unit fire truck purchased in 1989. It provided service, Mr. Lawless, for many years in the Liberty Fire District, now the Liberty Fire Department. But that vehicle gave many good years of service. We're very proud of the fact that the folks at the Career and Technology Center that are in our firefighter program, that they go on and graduate with the same certification they would receive if they went to the Firefighter Academy in Columbia. But one of the things that they've needed is they need a piece of apparatus to practice on, to train on, to learn their skills and refine their skills, so when they come out, they're even more able. The unit has been surplus for us. It's been replaced with a new unit. I think I actually watched Chief Rowland drive it the last day of his duty. He was emotionally attached to it. But it was delivered over to the Career and Technology Center this past week, I think on Friday. One bit of alarming news is they said the students were starting to climb on it before they'd gotten it back all the way in. So we've got to check on that. But I think it's a very good thing. I'm very proud of our emergency services folks for looking for that way to cooperate with the school district to train our next generation of heroes. So we're very excited about that. With that, I'll conclude my remarks. Members of council, I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Mr. Roper, I want to commend the team, the staff, you for that. One of the things we've challenged staff with is building the flow, the development of employees and recruitment and all the things, and I can't think of a better way to recruit than to make the education, work with the school district to make the education possible, and then give them the tools and resources they need that doesn't cause an additional tax burden. We all pay school taxes too, to save that. So great work there. I commend you for hearing us when we said it and then putting it into action and making it happen. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anything from Mr. Roper? Ms. Limble.
Mr. Roper, Was pleased to hear that progress is happening on our library construction, but was wondering if you could please update on the work that's been done. I know there was an HVAC issue, some other issues. Could you update us on libraries?
Yes, Councilor Linville, thank you for that question. I'll tell you that since council tasked administration with assisting the library in attacking some of these issues, we've replaced the roof on the Pickens branch of the library. We've also replaced an air conditioning unit there. I also know that the bids were awarded to a contractor to replace the 2 units at the central branch, and I think that's been accomplished. Yes, I'm seeing that has been accomplished as well. That was my understanding. So the next step in terms of how we would propose to move forward is once the architect has finished the plans on the proposed renovations of the Easley branch, we would be ready to move forward with looking at those parts of that project that we could do in-house, the parts we would need to bid out. But I understand the library has asked, and it's on your agenda for tonight for consideration to the Committee of the Whole, I believe, Mr. Chairman, to revisit our assumptions on that second part and to look whether or not there might be a path forward for the library board to do a design build project, which would actually require council action. So I know that's not for discussion tonight, but that's to update you right now where we are, is waiting on plans from the architect.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Roper?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Sager.
in a committee meeting, we talked about the traffic study, and I asked, I think you have different, between 0 to 6 studies are required for each subdivision, depending on the number of trips
That's right.
taken. So it was 0 to 500, there were no studies required. 500 trips, how big is that subdivision? Did you guys
So
look
it's
that
going to
up?
depend on, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I remember the question, and I appreciate that question. It's going to depend on the nature of the proposed development as like an apartment complex versus a single-family house. But if you wanted to think of it in terms of just single-family houses, the number ends up being a little less than 50, where it would trigger a traffic study. So it's not for the smaller subdivisions, it's for the larger ones, the way it's designed now.
Okay, yeah, because I had 9.4 trips per house, which would have been about 55. So you're about close to that?
I think so.
Other questions for Mr. Roper? Hearing none, we'll move on to our committee reports. I am going to ask you to bear with me as we've had several committee meetings, and I want to make sure I get this as accurate as possible. So on Monday, November 20th, we had a committee of the whole meeting. Log number 223, council Facebook page. There was no action taken by the committee. Log number 141, which was the UDSO. I had a motion that Councilman Wilson made to carve impact fees out of discussion and send to the Planning Commission to review and vote on. The motion was not seconded and it died. After more discussion, Vice Chairman Costner made a motion to send the impact fee estimates to the Planning Commission for their consideration. Motion was seconded by Councilwoman Linville, and it carried 5-1 with Councilman Seda opposing it. As this comes as a motion from committee, it does not require a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? On 11/28, Vice Chairman Costner made a motion to move back to the 5-zone area map. The motion was seconded by Councilman Lawless. Discussion was had. The original motion, Councilman Seda made an amended motion to change the 3-finger area in Pickens from Ag Heritage to Appalachian Heritage. The motion was seconded by Councilman Lawless. That amendment carried 4-1-1 with Councilwoman Linville opposed and Dr. Wilson abstaining. The original motion carried as amended 5-1 with Councilwoman Claiborne Linville opposing. As this comes as a recommendation for committee, it does not require a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That was unanimous, I believe. Okay, thank you. Councilman Wilson made a motion to amend the Planning Commission authority and responsibilities regarding public input and reports to council on an annual basis as approved by legal counsel. Vice Chairman Costner seconded the motion. Discussion included Planning Commission policy. That carried, what was the vote on that? So that was unanimous as it comes as a recommendation from committee. It doesn't require a second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All right, Councilman Wilson made a motion to adopt the Appalachian Heritage and Ag Heritage of Matrix as is. The motion was seconded by Councilman Seda. Discussion included that Councilman Wilson made an amendment motion to adopt the Appalachian Heritage and Ag Heritage of Matrix, not including the stormwater and impact fee columns. The motion was seconded by Councilman Seda. The motion carried 6-0. As this comes to recommendation for committee, doesn't require a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. I made a motion to adopt the Natural Heritage Area, Community Center Area, and Gateway Corridor Area of the Matrix. The motion was seconded by Councilwoman Linville. The discussion included Councilman Wilson made a substitute motion to adopt the Natural Heritage Area, Community Center Area, and Gateway Corridor Area on the Matrix with the document received in this evening's packet. Councilwoman Linville seconded the motion. I made an amended motion to change the Gateway Corridor Area, multifamily and mixed-use buildings heights from 5 to 3 stories. That was seconded by Councilman Lawless. After more discussion, I did withdraw my amendment. The original motion carried 4-2, with Councilman Seda and Councilman Lawless opposed. As this comes as a recommendation from committee, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Councilman Wilson made a motion to change the Gateway Corridor Area in Easley near Burdine Springs to Community Center Area. This motion was seconded by myself, and it carried unanimously 6-0. As this comes as a recommendation from committee, doesn't require a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And that's unanimous. Vice Chairman Costner made a motion to ask staff to show us the protection layer on Highway 8 based on the information received. I seconded that motion, and then Vice Chairman Costner did withdraw that motion. Vice Chairman Costner made a motion to designate 1 mile on both sides of Highway 8 south of 135 as natural heritage area. Motion was seconded by myself. Councilman Wilson made an amended motion to change this area to Ag Heritage Area. Councilman Seda seconded the motion. Councilman Wilson then retracted his motion. Seeing no other discussion on the motion, the original motion carried unanimously 6-0. Any discussion on this as it comes from committee and doesn't require a second? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Councilwoman Linville made a motion to move LaGrange subdivision area in Clemson on 123 from natural heritage to community center area. That motion was seconded by myself. Councilman Wilson made a motion to table the motion until Councilman Lawless and Councilwoman Linville met with constituents and agree on the best possibility. The motion was seconded by Vice Chairman, and that carried 5-1 with Councilwoman Linville opposed. We did discuss that area tonight, and we'll get to that motion in a moment. Councilman Wilson made a motion to eliminate the setback motion made at the previous meeting. That motion was seconded by myself. Councilman Wilson made an amended motion to take the 40 feet away from everything except residential homes with less than half-acre lot size. I seconded that. Councilman Wilson made an amended motion to change the front setback to 20-20-40 in section 505, open space subdivisions, and change the arterial street, collector street, and all other streets on residential to 20 feet. Motion was seconded by myself. That motion carried 4-2 with Councilman Seda and Councilman Lawless opposed. As this comes as a recommendation from committee, it doesn't require a second. Any discussion on that?
Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Wilson.
Mr. McKinney is in the audience here. You guys, you and your brother were talking earlier about the F-150 count that somebody could have. So we did take this off in many areas where you have the flexibility, but this puts it back, if you get a Linhart Grove, you gotta have enough room so you can walk down the sidewalk without having to be on the street. And I think that's, until the planning commission has the opportunity to hear and see these things in action, clearly there's an avenue to fix it if that's not enough.
Yeah, the intent is just so that they're not parked on the road, so you can get a school bus or a delivery truck on the road, however it may need to be worded.
Let's, yeah. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Seda.
Yeah, the lot size was 40 feet, the front, and it was moved back to 20 feet in some places. That's why I voted against it. I think, instead of waiting for the planning commission, I think what I would like to see is the administration, now that we've got minimum lot size done and the map is actually complete, look at the widths and also look at the front setbacks and come with a recommendation. So.
Make that motion.
Yeah, so I wanna, well, I'm just gonna vote no on it, because no on what, because basically what you did is you went from 40 feet in some places to 20, and that's why I voted no. It really needs to be a bigger issue. The bigger issue is this entire thing needs to be looked at. And I don't know how to actually do that.
I'll make the motion.
Vice Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion, but I don't know if you, I don't know procedurally how you, to amend what
I would just,
out of committee.
maybe,
Well, it's a motion from committee, just like, so it would be like amending any other
Okay,
motion.
motion to amend this, to send it back to staff, to take into consideration the lot sizes, so we can get a better determination based on the conversations we had during the committee of the whole meeting.
So I have a motion on the table to send this back to staff for recommendation based on the conversations that we've had in the committee. Do I have a second on that? Councilman said a second. Discussion on that.
So I had originally made the motion that we move it to 40 for, pretty significant swath of development. I had some wonderfully pointed input that, that was too sweeping and that you didn't need it if you were also gonna have the half acre or whatnot. That's why I've asked to change it. But it feels to me that having the staff come in with, and provide something like a grid or whatever for setbacks for us to review going into the third reading might be pushing that a little. But at the end of the day, as long as it's presented to the public well in advance, we ought to be able to consider that even as a whole, right?
Vice Chair.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we get stuff like this, where developers, and I don't know who this person is, but we're gonna play games with the language in order to accommodate, I mean, that to me is the epitome of sprawl. And having those, taking that into consideration of the, I guess to say what I want to say, the dynamics of the lot size does make sense. If you're going to squish it down to be, 60 feet and not allow for any space in the front, that's going to be a problem.
Ms. Humble.
I caution us to not start doing stuff that looks like design standards, which tripped up Highway 11 big time. If you're starting to say exactly what lots should look like and where houses need to be situated on lots, this starts to feel a bit like overreach from a county council. I think if we're going to start talking about driveways bothering people, then let's talk about curb cut limits off of roads and involve DOT in that sort of decision. I think that's within council jurisdiction to talk about how many cuts you can have off a road if you're building something new. I'd rather have that discussion than tell people where they have to situate their house on a lot beyond basic safety standards.
Vice Chairman.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to go down into this rabbit hole of nitpicking everything, but clearly we have an opportunity, since we're talking about the lot size and we're talking about the specifics of infrastructure that's in place, including the road. When you're doing a million little driveways on a road, then it's obviously going to cause a problem for people pulling out. This is I get it. I don't want to do a bunch of one-offs either, but we have a clear-cut example where we can take action, and hopefully the staff can come back with a good suggestion.
Okay, I'm just asking, if staff is considering this, could we also just, instead of doing this approach, could we also consider driveway limit or cut limits? Since we're not going to solve it tonight, in sending it back to staff, could that just also be considered, please?
Other discussion.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Sada.
Now that the map is done with the different zones and the minimum lot size has been established, you need to look at the minimum widths that are on the books right now. For half an acre, it's 30 feet. So if he's required to have a half acre, he could conceivably have a lot that's 30 feet wide and 700 feet back. And the reason a person would do that is because there's a road there. They don't want to cut in a new road to put in square lots, which are reasonable lots. So they just make the road frontage of each lot real narrow, so they don't have to build that extra road. And we saw an example of that, and I think a guy just got up and spoke about that. I think his was 60 by 450, so that was a ratio of 1 to 7. When you look at the city, the way they have specific numbers, they'll say it has to be 50 feet wide or 70 feet wide, whatever. I would actually feel more comfortable with a ratio, no more than 1 to 3. So half acre lot would have to be at least 100 by 200. You couldn't have a 50 by, 400. It'd have to be that ratio. So you might want to try that too as an idea. It'd be a little innovative and different, but it might help.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, parliamentary inquiry, we're not sure who the second was over here, if there was one.
So his amendment, is
Yep.
Mr. Saban.
Vice Chair made the motion, Councilman Sada second.
Thank you.
I was, yeah.
Other discussion? I agree, now that we have a map showing the areas, there is a little more to work on and work through, so I do agree with that. Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Councilman Sada, next up, Councilman Sada made a motion to strike out the sentence in the traffic studies section which states the county reserves the right to waive or require traffic studies based on unique factors specific to particular project or location. That motion was seconded by myself. I then made a substitute motion to just strike the words waived and or in the sentence above. The motion was seconded by Councilwoman Linville. This carried 6-0. This comes as a recommendation from committee. A little ditty, a little Jack and Diane in here. It's a recommendation from committee that requires second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Councilwoman Linville made a motion to pass the proposed language changes in the Article 3 standards for certain uses. That motion was seconded by myself. That motion carried 5-1 with Councilman Sada opposed. As this comes as a recommendation, doesn't require a second. Any discussion?
What was the language that changed on that?
The language that changed, it was 80 pages with all the track changes.
Oh, I got you, yeah, where I had all those definitions, tiny homes and things like that. Yeah, I got it, I remember now. Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Vice Chairman Costner made a motion to change language and to say motorized racetracks. That motion was seconded by Dr. Wilson. Vice Chairman then amended his motion to add the word race and for staff to look in to give clarification on dirt track. That motion was seconded by Councilman Wilson and carried 6-0. No action on that due to the fact it had to go back to staff for clarification. And we will touch base on that here in a little while. Vice Chairman Costner also made a motion to move forward for third reading. It was seconded by myself, and then the Vice Chairman did withdraw his motion. I then made a motion to call on municipalities to do a 180-day moratorium on annexation and come out as a resolution at this council meeting. Also would like for the staff to research and come back with recommendations on a joint countywide planning commission. Councilman Wilson seconded the motion, and that carried 6-0. As this comes as a recommendation from committee, it doesn't require a second. I would like to read this resolution for the record. A resolution calling on municipalities within the county to cease any and all annexations for a prescribed time sufficient to enter into collaborative county and city planning and preservation efforts, and thereby collectively manage and limit unchecked and disruptive growth in our communities, along with matters related thereto. Whereas Pickens County, South Carolina, the county, is a political subdivision of the state of South Carolina and is authorized to enact regulations, resolutions, and ordinances not inconsistent with the Constitution and general law of this state, including the exercise of general powers in relation to safety within the community as it appears to be necessary and proper for the security, general welfare, and convenience of the county, and preserving health, peace, order, and good government within the county. And whereas the city of Clemson, town of Central, town of Norris, city of Liberty, town of 6 Mile, city of Pickens, and the city of Easley, the municipalities, are political subdivisions of the state of South Carolina and are authorized to enact regulations, resolutions, and ordinances not inconsistent with the Constitution and general law of the state, including the exercise of powers in relation to roads, streets, markets, law enforcement, health, and order in the municipality, or respecting any subject which appears to them necessary and proper for the security, general welfare, and convenience of the municipality, or for preserving health, peace, order, and good government in them. And whereas in recent years, the county and its municipalities have seen an unprecedented population and development growth, and this unchecked and unplanned growth stresses existing infrastructure, leads to increased public expense for essential services, exacerbates and increases traffic, and threatens to overwhelm the essential nature of our community's natural and cultural environment. And whereas the citizens of the municipalities and of the county have expressed increased concern and frustration over the pace of growth and the lack of coordination between various levels of government in order to more adequately plan and provide for such growth. And whereas under state law, municipalities have relatively unchecked ability to annex lands of the county into the bounds of a municipality, and the exercise of such power leads to inconsistent zoning and land use standards, inadequate coordination and cooperation in the face of overriding market forces, and frustration of any attempts by the county to reasonably address community growth patterns. Now therefore, the duly elected County Council of Pickens County does hereby find and resolve the as follows. 1, growth should be managed in our communities in a consistent and coordinated manner. 2, both the municipalities and the county are essential partners for managing growth. 3, arbitrary and haphazard annexations by municipalities exacerbates problems and frustrates attempts at managing growth for our citizens. 4, collaboration between the county and the municipalities would more effectively and efficiently meet the public need for managed growth. 5, state law provides that municipalities and the county may create a joint planning commission. 6, a joint planning commission could be an effective means to maximize collaboration and therefore merits close study by both the county and the municipalities. 7, municipalities should and hereby called upon immediately to cease any and all annexations for a period of 180 days with an extension of additional 90 days should such extension be needed to formalize any policies, procedures, and relevant ordinances related to the subject of this resolution. 8, county planning staff shall research both the procedure for adopting and empowering a joint planning commission and communicate with the municipalities on the provisions of this resolution. And 9, county staff shall report back to council on their findings within 90 days hereafter. That is the resolution that is on the table for tonight. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And that is unanimous. Motions made on during tonight's meeting. Councilman Lawless made a motion to remove gateway area around District 2 area near Clemson and change to natural heritage area. Vice Chairman Costner seconded this motion. Councilman Seda then made a substitute motion to remove gateway area and community area around District 3, Pickens area, and change to natural heritage area. Councilman Lawless seconded this motion. Then Councilwoman Linville made a substitute motion to change the area north of the city of Clemson and east of 123 up to 18 Mile Road and change that to gateway area. That was seconded by Councilman Seda. I then made a substitute motion to adopt the first, second, and third motion and change everything between Highway 8 and 123 from gateway area to community center area. That motion was seconded by Dr. Wilson, who then made a substitute motion to adopt the first 4 motions and change east of 135 and north of 93 from community center area to natural heritage area. That was seconded by myself. And then Vice Chairman made a substitute motion to adopt the first 5 motions and change Northern Highway 8 from community center area to natural heritage area. This motion was seconded by myself. There was no other discussion, and that carried 6-0. As this does come from committee tonight, it doesn't require a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Councilman Wilson made a motion to adopt the proposed language for Section 303 outdoor motorsports facilities, racing and test tracks. That was seconded by myself, and it carried 6-0. As it comes from committee, no second required. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Then Vice Chairman Costner made a motion to move the UDSO out of the committee for third reading. That was seconded by myself. Councilman Wilson amended the motion to natural heritage area, a minimum half-acre lot. That was seconded by me. That motion carried unanimously 6-0. As this comes from committee, it doesn't require a second. Any other discussion?
Just,
Vice Chairman.
just so that we're clear, we're not voting on third reading now. We were just voting to move it out so that the public still has time to give us more feedback. I've already gotten some before I sat down here. And I'll have more motions to come. But this at least moves the process forward so that we know that the next time that we should be moving it out to third reading.
That's correct. To be clear, there's no third reading tonight.
Yeah.
Do you have any sense of when you'll do the third reading?
Originally, we talked about the 11th, but after great discussion in our last meeting, maybe the 18th. So we would like at least a week for feedback, kind of like we did. Having that special meeting tonight was because we met last week, made major changes to the map, wanted that input, got back together tonight. So we'll put it back out. So we're hopefully sometime this month.
So that's gonna be third reading on everything that's been approved up to this point.
That's correct. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That is unanimous. And that should conclude our committee report. I'd say we've done a little bit in committee. Next up on the agenda is council correspondence. Council will have a special called meeting on Monday, December 11th in the main conference room of the admin building. The committee of the whole meeting is scheduled for December 18th at 6 o'clock in the main conference room of the admin building. The next council meeting will be held on Monday, January 8th in council chambers of the admin building. Are there any other correspondence that need to be announced? Hearing none, we're at our motion period, new business. This is an opportunity for you to bring anything that's not on the agenda up for discussion. Are there any new motions or business that need to be discussed tonight? Hearing none, we'll move to item 8, ordinances for first reading or resolutions. I have a first reading in title only of an ordinance conveying certain real property adjacent to the old Central Roller Mill to Issaquena Mills LLC and matters related thereto. I ask for a motion and a second to consider this first reading in title only.
Nobody knows what it is.
I'll motion for discussion. I'll motion.
I'll second for discussion.
Mr. Roper, would you please like to clarify what this is?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity, knowing this is first reading in title only, the way we start a conversation, not necessarily the way we end one. I'll tell you that this is a little corner of a road that was built some years ago. DOT, as far as we're concerned, owns this little stretch of road. They believe we own it. We have no record of owning it. You remember that previous council passed an ordinance that allowed staff to clean up these ambiguous roadway issues. And so the problem and the reason we haven't cleaned this up through that process is there's some indication in the public record that it calls it a county road. So what we've determined is maybe the best thing is for us to just go through the formal process and get rid of this. We don't need it. You'll see those two main state highways come together right there. That is, as I understand it, a natural, trying to look to see if we have any central folks here. It's on the state register, at least, of historic places. And so I think that may have been where the grant money came from to put that little driveway in. We have no need of it, and so we're just starting that process. We'll bring more information to you as the process goes forward.
Vice Chairman.
So this is just to give them the road?
Yes.
They want any more?
What? I'm sorry, what?
They want any more?
Do they need any more? Right.
He's asking for a friend.
From my understanding, the owner of this property is cleaning it up. you know, there's potential for this to be a future business as opposed to an empty mill, so it's part of the cleanup. This picture is very flattering because that red section is broken. If it was asphalt once, it's barely hanging together.
Been maintained in years.
Yeah, so we don't want that.
And this is a three-step process. That's right. So there will be other opportunity for discussion here. Any other discussion on this, first reading in title only? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That is unanimous. There are nothing for second reading tonight. Item 10 on tonight's agenda is ordinances for third reading. Third reading of an ordinance and delaying the implementation of the 2024 reassessment process in order to benefit the taxpayers of Pickens County and matters related thereto. I ask for a motion and a second to consider this third reading.
Motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Wilson. Discussion.
This is item number 10.
Yes, sir. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? And that's 4-2. Item number 11, other requested agenda items. I do have local accommodations request regarding the 2024 Pickens County Ag Plus Art Tour. Is that correct? Mr. Roper?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to explain this. This South Carolina Ag Art Tour is a free self-guided tour of farms and markets that feature local artisans at every stop. During the tour, visitors have the opportunity to see firsthand where their food comes from, watch artists in action and purchase their works, enjoy the melodies of local musicians. This is from the website. Enjoy melodies of local musicians and learn more about rural life. The tour is the largest free farm and art tour in the nation, with over 85,000 visitors participating since 2012. This is basically, it's a self-guided tour. Farms and artisans would have to agree to open them up, but it's a way to bring them more foot traffic and to publicize their event. It's only a request, it's for local ATAX, so it doesn't go through the ATAX committee. I want to make that point. But it's a $3,000 request, which generally is under a discretionary limit that we could handle. But we thought, as a part of our need to publicize this and to bring it to public awareness, it was probably a good idea to bring it on to council so we could start publicizing it now. The counties that have participated in it will be the first county in the upstate, so it's an opportunity for us to really put our agricultural heritage area on display. Request is for $3,000.
Make a motion that we approve this $3,000.
Second.
I have a second by Councilwoman Linville. Discussion.
I think it's a good opportunity.
Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And that is unanimous. Item 12 tonight, I do have the consent agenda. I ask for a motion and a second to approve the library renovation construction methods to the committee of the whole. I ask for a motion and a second that we add this to the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion.
So I have a second by Councilwoman Linville. Any discussion?
What is this about?
It's, from what I gathered from the administrator's report, and this is it's library and staff coming back to discuss the renovations, but it would be during the committee of the whole meeting.
That's right.
To have a more detailed conversation. So this
Just
literally
putting it in
just
the
puts it
committee.
on the committee log.
Yeah.
Other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And that is unanimous. That brings us to item 13, which is executive session. I ask for a motion and second that we go to executive session for personnel matter related to the county administrator, this item and this item only.
So moved.
Second by Dr. Wilson. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you. We will reconvene after I would love to say brief executive session. We'll be back. Thank you all for being here with us tonight.